banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine. It's a place I love best, 'cause it's better than the rest. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. There's lights that burn so brightly, in the northeast sky they shine, from a place that Geordies worship, where legends wear number 9. You can travel right round the world, even meet the Pope in Rome, but nothing beats the feeling of when you come back here to home. No matter how life changes, we'll never be far apart. The northeast always home, and it's always in your heart. Take me home to the banks of the River Tyne. Take me home to the place that I call mine.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to It's All Black and White TV. And yes, tonight it's Newcastle United versus Man United. We're going to look at 5 great games that we've had at St James's Park against Man United. I'm joined by Pete and I'm joined by Rolly. How are you guys tonight?
Very well, thanks, Tony.
Good. Before we get into the show, if you like what you see, then please smash the likes. It really does help the channel up with search results, so smash those likes. Thank you very much. Either during the show or on your way out. It takes 1 second to click that thumbs up. Also, if you're brand new to the channel, then please hit the subscribe. Free to do so, helps the channel grow, and that bell notification tells you when I'm live, have a pre-record or any upcoming shows. Currently on 454 subscribers, so on the way towards 500, just 46 away. If you want to make a donation to the channel, there is a link in the chat. Just click the link and follow the instructions. So thank you very much indeed on that one. I'll just grab into some comments first of all. And evening all, says Trolls. Evening, Tony. Thank you very much, Trolls. Evening to you.
Hey, Trolls.
Ian. Evening, Tony. Evening, Ian. Hope you're well. Coffee says, hi, Tony, PD, Rolly and all. Hi, Coffee.
Hi, Coffee.
And Trolls says, hey, PD and Rolly.
You are.
Hi, Trolls.
And Ian says, evening, Pete and Rolly. That's from Ian. He says, I've put your name wrong. He says, Rolly.
We know who you meant.
Yeah, he knew, yeah. Coffee says, John's favourite is a Carabao Cup final. We knew that was happening. Well, I did try to get a Man U perspective, but unfortunately John was unavailable, so... And Lee says, evening, Tony, Rolly and Pete. Good evening, Lee. Hope you're well, mate. So, yeah, so we're going to discuss... we're going to look at 5 different games that we've played against Man United, and we're going to have a look at them and we'll have a discussion about them. Join in on the chat as well. Now, I did want to put a poll out for these games, but you can only put a maximum 4 things out on a poll on YouTube, which is a bit stupid. It would have been nice if we had a 5th. So I haven't added a 5th lane, but do get involved in the chat and do get in the chat what your favourite game against Man United is. I know what a lot of people's favourite game is, but just get it in the chat there and just let us know what your favourite game is. And we're not talking about the Liverpool winning 7-0 against Man United, by the way. You know, it's 7th heaven for Liverpool, but not for Man United, it wasn't, was it? But no. In all seriousness, no, whatever your favourite Newcastle versus Man United games were, put them in there and we'll give you a shout out as we always do anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start differently. I'm not going to start back in historical terms. I'm going to go from recent back in history. So it's going to go from recent back to history. Wayne says, evening, Tony, Rolly and PD. Good evening, Wayne. Nice to see you, mate. And Troll says, can't shake the thing about the Prem and investigating our owners. I'm worried, to be honest. I wouldn't be worried, Trolls, to be honest. Right, let's put this out there. The thing is, What are they investigating for? Just because them Yanks have said something about the live golf. That's got nothing to do with football. And to be honest, I couldn't give two monkeys hoots about the bloody golf in America. I couldn't give a shit about it, to be fair. I care about the club. But the thing is, these owners have done nothing but be absolutely brilliant to this club. Even the man himself, Yasser Al-Rumayyan. He's passionate. He wants to do well. And at the end of the day, if the Premier League want to investigate, let them. But what are they going to investigate? The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are not involved in the club. So what is their issue? They've done all the background checks. They've had the thing that the PIF was separate from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So what is there to investigate? Nothing. Not a thing. So as far as I'm concerned, it's pay pass scaremongering. Take no notice of it. They just want you to click on that story, because every time you click on that story, you're giving them money, and that's all they're wanting. And if they've got 50,000 Geordies clicking on that page, if they're getting £1 for every one, they're making a hell of a fortune. So don't rise to it. Honestly, don't. I mean, I'll come to you, Pete. What's your thoughts on it?
I agree. It's just, you know what? They're just trying to thingy that they're just trying to scare us, but we're not. I mean, what can they do? They resolved all the piracy issues, didn't they? They said, as you said, Tony, that the PIF is completely different from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There you are. What? And everything was signed, wasn't it? Can they go back to it? Don't think they can.
No, I mean, they did say in that statement that if the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is found to be running the club, then yeah, but they're not running the club. That's a difference. No. And
it's Amanda and Miedad.
And Jamie Rubin as well. So
yeah,
there's three lots there. So they can, the Premier League can do what they want.
I mean,
and what's your thoughts on it, Rolly? Before we go into these games?
All I can say is that I don't want to hear about we're investigating the takeover until the government stops selling Saudi Arabia weapons and the Saudis are sanctioned. End of. Mm-hmm. We sell weapons to Saudi Arabia. They're not under sanctions. We're allowed to do business with whoever we want. The Premier League decided that they're happy with the assurances they've got. There's nothing to look at. It's an old story. They knew that Yasser Al-Rumayyan was government minister because in the charter of the PIF, to be the chairman, you have to be a government minister. Nothing has changed. And the thing in America is about live golf because the PGA is shit scared that they're going to rob all their players. Well, the only way they rob all their players is if they don't allow them to play in their tournaments as well as the live golf. And that's why they've got a problem. The whole thing with the live golf was it was a different format of golf running side by side with the PGA. Well, paid big money to get some of the big stars to sort of kick it off. And then the PGA said, if you go to live, you can't play for us. Well, there's a restraint of trade in my opinion. I don't know if they got that sort of law in the US, but it's got nothing to do with us. They went through they took 18 months to pass our takeover. And at the end of the day, the thing that slowed the takeover down, which they won't admit, was the piracy. There's nothing to do with the government running the club. That was the issue that they could slow it down on, whilst the piracy issue was sorted, because at the end of the day, they don't want to be dealing with a club from a country that is screwing them on the piracy. Mm-hmm. That was the issue. But they couldn't, that's not in the director's test. So they needed something that they could use. And the links with the Saudi government who'd be running it was actually quite a good one to use because it is new ground. No one had dealt with anything quite like this before. So that's the reason they said, which technically is a reason to do it. But it wasn't the real reason, because the moment that the piracy issue was dealt, within 48 hours, they green-lighted the takeover. So it's obvious that the ownership was just the excuse until the piracy was sorted. So, I mean, I don't want to hear about it until the government makes it illegal to deal with Saudi Arabia like they have with Russia. No one should be questioning our ownership.
No, you're absolutely right there, Roddy. I mean, the thing is, I said before there, to me, it's a non-starter. I don't believe it for 1 minute. And I just think people just need to chill and just, do you know what? At the end of the day, just chill, enjoy what's going on at the club and ignore what's going on outside, because it's just media just trying to make stuff up, and that's what it is at the end of the day.
They don't want us to do well. When we got taken over, they all wanted us to get relegated. So they could say, well, we're the richest club in the world, but win the championship. Well, it didn't happen. And now we're challenging for the Champions League. And there are people out there that don't want us to qualify. It's a nothing story. It's nothing new. It's jealousy. They don't want us to do well.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They can see that we progressed a lot quicker than anybody had anticipated, and we're a real threat to what was the status quo. And they know once we get up there, once we get our revenue sorted, commercial deals and revenue sorted, we're going to be very difficult to shift from that top four or challenging for the Champions League. And they don't like the fact that you're now in a situation where there are 7 clubs, well, there were 7 clubs, technically fighting for 4 spots. I mean, there will be next season, because I'm sure Chelsea won't be as bad next season as they are this season. But we've got to make a real go of it. If we get into the Champions League, the money and the investment we can put in will help us stay there, because next season it's going to be tougher, because Liverpool will improve, Chelsea will improve, and all the other clubs that are fighting for Champions League will improve. I know we will as well, but I don't anticipate Liverpool and Chelsea having seasons like they had this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, we're going to go into some comments here. Brian says, big up to you, Brian. Hope you're well.
You're well, Brian.
Paul says, the Premier League ain't investigating anything. Absolutely, Paul. Lee says, they're jealous because we're having success. Absolutely. Troll says, they can sway transfer targets. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. I wouldn't have thought so, Trolls, to be fair, so I wouldn't worry about it. And Brian says, oh yeah, what was all that about? Anything to worry about? Absolutely not. Coffee says, they want to investigate why the Saudis bought Newcastle over their top 6 clubs. Absolutely, Coffee. That's the thing, is they're not happy that they bought us rather than not a top 6 club.
I can tell you why they bought us over the other top 6 clubs. Because we cost them £280 million when you take off Amanda and Jamie's contribution. And they're going to get a massive return on the investment. When we're worth £3 billion with all the investment and everything, that will have cost them £280 million to get a return of the best part of £2.7 billion. What a fantastic return on investment.
Yeah.
That's why they went for us. Rather than they buy Manchester United now, they pay 6 billion for them, and in 5 years' time they'll be worth maybe 8 billion.
Yeah.
The return on investment is pitiful compared to what they're going to get with us.
Yeah.
And that's why they went with us.
Paul says that questions were asked about Qatar and the Man U bits. We have nothing to worry about. Absolutely not. Not at all. Wayne says, this story with the Saudis doesn't bother me. It's a load of shit. Absolutely. Brian says, well said, Rowley. Paul says, no questions were asked, should say. Exactly. We're not under questions at all. Joel says, did you see the UEFA president putting questions why we are not allowed to buy players of high qualities? I didn't see it, but I can't see what's got to do with him at all. Ian says, my favourite Man U's got to be the 5-0 game in which Albert Chip was icing on the cake. Ian's got his straight in. Right, so obviously this show's about that, and I know people are concerned about the thing, but don't be concerned. As I say, it's a pile of verbal diarrhea, and ignore it. Simple as. Unless
The
the
only
club come
time
out
to
and say
the only
unless the
time
club
to
come out
be
and have to put a statement out and say something, that's when the time's to worry.
the only time to worry is if Britain places sanctions on Saudi Arabia. That gives you a Chelsea situation. But by the time that happens, we'll be worth so much that there'll be people falling over themselves to buy us.
Yeah,
If it
well, that's
happens at
it.
all.
So, I mean, yeah, the thing is, to be fair, I wouldn't worry about it. It's at the end of the day, it is what it is, and just have to accept it. But there's no investigation, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. And anyway, we're going to move on because we've got to do the show. What we doing about? But yeah, Wayne says us Geordies are just going to have to ignore this. It's going to be like this for a while until they get bored. Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
Well said,
That's the same with Tottenham looking at Eddie Howe in the summer. You know, if this is going to happen, like I said in my video, the thing is, as we are getting bigger now, we are going to have to get used to this. That people are going to come in and say, I want Eddie Howe as manager at Tottenham, and I want your star players, because that's what you do when you become the top club. And so we have to get used to this. Not that saying that Eddie Howe's going to jump ship and go to Tottenham, because why would he want to go and work for Levy when he's probably got the best of everything at Newcastle United?
So
Why go to Tottenham and not have money to spend, and where in Newcastle you've got a bottomless pit?
The other thing about it is that the so-called bigger clubs have been so used to coming to Newcastle to get players that they want that they think they can do it now. I mean, under the old regime, if we had bought Bruno, they'll be saying, we'll have him because they know that we'll sell. You look at people like Johan Cabaye. We were actually promoted to players as a stepping stone to bigger clubs. And bigger clubs are so used to saying, we'll have him from Newcastle. Well, it's not like that anymore. And they're going to have to get used to it. They can they can be linked with our best players, but we're getting Champions League next season, or if all things go right. So why would anyone want to leave? We're on an upward trajectory. Players with ambition are going to want to come to us and stay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So Harry says, evening, guys. Evening to you, Harry. And I just want to give a shout out to Ian Fleming. Thank you for your £5 donation. Much appreciated, mate. Thank you very much indeed. LA Coffee says, there's a clip of the Sky reporter Carvey who slated the Saudi takeover, but the same Carvey is milking the Man U Qatar takeover. That guy is a total nut and knob. I can't stand that guy, Carvey Solical. He's two-faced, and he's one of them reporters. I just can't stand the bloke. I really can't. And he just really grinds on me, especially on transfer windows and that. It's like, mate, you're not going to be as good as what Jim White ever was. Harry says, unless the club put an official statement out about the situation, I'm not going to read between the lines about that. Absolutely nothing to worry about. And he says, Phil Jones on goal. I'm just quickly going through these comments. Paul says, if the Saudis were worried, they wouldn't hire new staff from Saudi Arabia, and they wouldn't sponsor kits next season. Absolutely, Paul. You're spot on. Harry says, Tottenham might have a super stadium, but we are bigger than them. Absolutely, Harry. Coffee says, the game on Sunday will be the great NUFC versus Man U game, 7-0 win. For us. I like his confidence. Harry says, whoever gets the Spurs job will be under Dan Levy's thumb, whilst Eddie Howe has the freedom to build a successful team. Absolutely. Lee says, when Beacon Neck was in charge, we were a feeder club. Now with new owners, we're getting stronger all the time. We are absolutely. Right. So we're going to go into the first game anyway. So as I say, we're going to go from recent rather than starting from history, and we're going to go to history last. So the first game, now this is going back to the 6th of October 2019, 4 years ago. And well, what a day that was against Man United, because Dubravka started in goal for us. And remember, he had a tremendous game that day. He saved everything that come his way. He was absolutely fantastic. And Steve Bruce was the manager in charge for us. And we were actually sitting in the relegation zone when Man United come to town. And then on 72 minutes, a ball from Jetro Willems into Matty Longstaff, and from 25 yards out, 19-year-old Matty Longstaff just boom in the back of the net, past to here, brilliant goal, and absolutely fantastic. We got the 3 points, and it actually moved us out of the relegation zone at that time. We all remember it well. We all remember, Matty Longstaff celebrating his goal. There he is against Man United. That was a terrific game that day. To get that win, just any game against Man United is a great game, but it's even better when we get that win against them, because, we hate them as much as we hate Sunderland. So that says something. I know not all people might agree, but at the end of the day, we've always had this long history of hating Man United, and that will always be in the blood. But I mean, I'll come to you first, Pete. I wasn't at that game. I saw it on TV. You were probably there, Pete. But can you remember that game?
Well, I actually wasn't there at the time. I think that was the season I decided to stay away for a season after the whole Rafa Benitez situation. But we're in the pub watching it. But I could believe it at first. Under Steve Bruce as well, you're thinking, we're not going to win that at first. Man U were absolutely utter dog shit on the day. Absolute dog shit. They rarely ever threatened us, apart from maybe a couple of attempts, but that was it. Majority of times it was easy for us as well. I think Matty Longstaff was unlucky not to score in the first half when he hit the bar as well. But I think we were just playing one of the poorest Man United teams at the time, who were really under a slump under Solskjaer at the time. And as he said with Matty Longstaff, what a debut he had. What a debut to score a goal that far out the box. De Gea, no chance. And we just saw that game out. We weren't... And the good thing is, we weren't even threatening to ourselves at 1-0 up. Oh, we're going to concede. We were thinking, we're not conceded, yeah? This Man United team is awful. Even though we might have had many chances on target. But that Man U team was embarrassing. And we just showed them how it's done on the day. We didn't have to really get out of first gear in that game, I thought, because it was that easy for us.
Yeah. Yeah, because the one I'm thinking of where Dubravka Dubravka made a couple of saves in that game, but I think the other one where he was really great was the year before when we played, when Matt Ritchie scored the only goal in the game, when we beat them 1-0.
Debut. Wow.
Debut, yeah. His debut because he came on loan. Yeah. Joel says Bruce for Spurs. Rolly, what do you remember of that game from 2019? Matty Longstaff's debut goal.
The thing I remember most is the goal, because it's such a cracking goal. But again, it's one of those times where you go into Manchester United games thinking, "Oh, I'll be happy with a draw out of this," because and so we were playing Bruce ball, and it was, you're watching the game and you're thinking, actually, they're not that good. We could get something out of this. And then when Matty scored, was watching at home, sort of start screaming as you do, because it's a cracking goal, and to hold on as comfortably as we did was great. The only shame about that game is that Matty's career didn't take off. you think, well, coming on playing so well, you think that he'd get more opportunities. He would climb into the first team picture like his brother's done, but it just didn't work. I'm not sure if that was a bit of Bruce Ball sending him out on loan, and he's had some terrible loan spells. Now he's done his cruise ship and his contract's up. It's just sad that he hasn't reached the heights that his brother has. But yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to look back on that game because the team is so much better now, and they're the dark days. So try not to remember. It's one of the few bright lights in the dark days, and playing Bruce Ball. But I mean, any win against Man United is a tremendous win. I know we've got my favourite win coming up later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's one of the ones I remember best because of the whole game, and then the background to that game as well, which we'll go into when it comes up later on. But yeah, a great win. It's a poor Man United side, so we're quite happy to take all 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just go through some comments before we get the next game. Paul Stone says, I was talking to Bella Chef from Sky Sports the week at work, and she's a bit stuck up, lol. Is she really that bad? Harry says, excellent counter-attack for Matty Longstaff to score an absolute screamer. Got us 3 massive points. He did, absolutely. Alan says, good evening to you, Alan. And he says, evening to you and Pete as well, Rolly. He says, it's got to be the 5-0 best game. I can't remember most of the other ones. Harry says, John Sinclair was crying at level 7 amongst all the Manx when Matty Longstaff scored. I love it, Harry. Well said. Sefton, good evening. He says, on my way to work, but have you in the car. Evening all, how are you the lads? Thank you, Sefton. Good evening to you, sir. Coffee says, when Tony said Steve Bruce's name, my lights started flickering. I felt a cold breeze in my room. Harry says 2-1 win in the 17-18 season when Dubravka made his debut and Richie scored the winner. Yeah, absolutely.
That was the 1-0 win, yeah.
1-0 win, Harry, yeah. Harry, Tony, Pete, Rowley, hope you're all good, says Ian Toon Trader. Well. Yeah, absolutely fine, mate. I hope you're fine. Troll says, just put a kebab outside and you'll be fine. For Steve Bruce. Ian says, no, leave the knobber tactic book while you're in there, mate. Longstaff's goal, only reason, remember that game, says Alan. Yeah, absolutely. He did score at Old Trafford, but then we lost that game. Wayne says, do you think Harry Redknapp may go back to Spurs? I can't see it. He's too busy with Bet Victor at the moment, isn't he? So, Harry says, Matty Longstaff career at Newcastle may be over soon, but it's a moment that will stay with him for the rest of his life, regardless of what his next move is. You're absolutely spot on, Harry. Yeah. He'll always remember that goal, and when he's got kids and that, these kids grow up, he'll say, do you know what? When I played my first game for Newcastle, I scored the winner against Manchester United.
Was Sean playing in that team as well on that day?
Yes, I think he was. I think he came on as a sub.
Yeah, because I know that in that season they both played, so they're saying that's one of their ambitions to play together at Newcastle. So at least he's achieved that.
Yeah. Harry says Steve Bruce uses a tic-tac book for his tactics. Bruce tax book is a pop-up book. I like it, trolls. Do Spurs have a false 10? How's the bacon, did you say?
Oh, God, I remember the false 10 he came out with.
Oh, God, yeah. So, the next game we're going to, and this one is a little bit further back. Obviously not too far back, but it's a little bit further back anyway. And This one wasn't a win for Newcastle, but we didn't lose the game, so we got a draw out of it. And this was on a Tuesday night on the 12th of January 2016. So that's 7 years ago now. And we drew 3-3 with Manchester United. Now, Man United went ahead through Wayne Rooney through a penalty. Then Jesse Lingard doubled our lead on 38 minutes. But 4 minutes after Lingard put Man United 2-0 up, Gini Wijnaldum scored on the 42nd minute. This was when Steve McLaren was manager of our team. And then the second half, after we're being 2-1 down at half time, second half, we get a penalty. Mitrovic puts the penalty away after 67 minutes to make it 2-2. So 12 minutes after Mitrovic scores, Wayne Rooney pops in with his second goal of the game and puts Manchester United 3-2 up. Then we're heading towards injury time, and on the edge of the box, who happens to pop up? Paul Dummett. Yeah, Paul Dummett, of all people, happens to be there just on the edge of the box, strikes a beautiful shot as sweet as a nut. I think it comes off the chest of Chris Smalling at the time, but it flies into the top of the net, and it ends all square. A fantastic game that was. That was a game where Louis van Gaal said, "Oh, Man United could have scored 6 goals that night." Well, you didn't. You scored 3. So tough shit, mate. At the end of the day, you only got 3 goals. You know. But yeah, it was a terrific game that night. I mean, I remember Alan Shearer even coming out and saying that was a brilliant game because both teams wanted to go and win this game. And, you know, the draw was the fair result in the end. Yes, obviously, Wayne Rooney got man of the match there. But, I mean, Steve McLaren after the game said, "The crowd responded magnificently. We wanted to show everyone what we're about." People said that United were boring and we lacked character, but we kept fighting until the end. And we have got a goal that feels like a winner. People thought it would be 0-0 and it was a classic 3-3. It must have been a great game for the neutral, but it's a heart attack for the coaches, says Steve McLaren. And Louis van Gaal says, "Of course it feels like a defeat. We have given it away. I have told that to my players. When the referee gives a penalty for nothing, it's a duel. I think you cannot decide who is worse, but we gave it away, saying that our penalty should never have been given. We could have scored 6 goals easily here. We didn't. If we had, it would have been 3 successive wins at the start of the year going into Liverpool." So that was what he said on that match. The both managers, and I like the way McLaren got United right, the right United as well, and not Man United. I mean, I'll come to you first, Rolly. Do you remember that game, 3-3?
To be honest, I don't remember an awful lot of the Steve McLaren era because I tried to erase it from my memory because it was so pitiful. But that game sums up a Steve McLaren game where we would go down. I can't remember the goals. I mean, the way we defended that season, probably goals that you think, what are they playing at? But we always looked like we could have a go and look threatening going forward. Jimmy Wijnaldum, as we know, a great player, but only scored at home. And I'm surprised I don't remember Dummett scoring because he scored so few goals. But no, that's one of the darkest times in recent history. And to pull I mean, I would have been going nuts because, again, it's a game you expect to get beaten, to get a draw, score 3 goals. But I don't have a sort of overarching memory of that game, to be honest. But it just sounds like a typical Steve McLaren game. We either draw it or lose, and they'll score 2 or 3 goals, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember it well. I mean, I was in the pub. I think I was playing darts that night. So the match was on, and because I kept hoping, I was kept looking at people playing darts and thinking, go to 3 legs, go to 3 legs, go to 3 legs. I'm watching the football. And I think it was just, and I think I was lucky because as my game, as I was about to go and play my game, we had just scored the equaliser from Paul Dummett. And I can remember the strike. It was a tremendous strike from Dummett. And it was a cracking goal, and it deserved deserved us to get the point out of the game. I mean, do you remember, Pete? Were you at that game or not?
I think I was in the pub for that one as well. I remember that one as well. I mean, I thought it was Mbemba who gave away the penalty, but I think that wasn't a penalty for me. I didn't think his arms were in an unnatural position. Even the commentator said he's been a bit hard done by on that. But the good thing, I remember that game. A lot of people thought we would have crumbled because I know we had definitely did a lot under McLaren that season, but we didn't. I mean, I know they went 2-0, but a great finish from Wijnaldum to get the goal back, and we got the penalty, which I think was rightfully so, as well. I remember Wijnaldum thought he put us back in the head with the second, but it was offside, unfortunately. I know Rooney scored the equaliser, but can't take any away from Dummett's strike at all. From a left back of all people as well. So, and I remember that game, and that was a good point we really got because a lot of people thought we would have crumbled under McLaren in that game. But that was some game that as well. I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Defending with McLaren. I mean, most teams would cut for our defence like a hot knife through butter. It was awful.
Harry says Dummett scored an absolute screamer. He did, yes, absolutely. Coffee says we may not have won, but I think the game back in January 22 where we drew was a great game. Joe Linton bossed them, and Miggy's worldie was saved by De Gea. Harry says a return of Steve McLaren on Sunday. Yeah, because he's on the Man U bench. Lee says 5-0 win for him. Ian says Scotland are 1-0 up through Scott McTominay. But he's on fire for Scotland, isn't he? Harry says
an audition so that we sign him in the summer.
Yeah, beating Liverpool, draw against Man U, and Chelsea losing to Sheffield Wednesday, and the match against Villa when the heavens opened are the matches that spring to mind under the Wally's era. Yeah. Coffee says worst game I remember was where we lost 6-0. I think Ronaldo hat-trick and an Alan Smith red card. I think, yeah. I remember when Scholes, I think we got beat 6-3 once as well, didn't we?
We've taken quite a few hammerings by Man United over the years.
Harry says, fingers crossed Hoslu scores against the Scots tonight. Oh yeah, they're playing Spain, aren't they?
Hoslu is just an incredible story. He was garbage for us. Couldn't hit a barn door with a banjo. Goes to Spain and he can't stop scoring.
No.
How many players have come to Newcastle with reputations but absolutely pants, left, and then turned into world beaters?
Yeah.
Tolvan was another one, I would say.
Tolvan, yeah. Billy's in there. Hi, Billy. Hope you're well, mate. He says, our first ever Premier League point was gained at Old Trafford. I think it was the most pissed I've been at a game.
Was that the season we got promoted?
Yes.
With Keegan?
Yeah.
Was it 1-1?
Think so, yeah.
And it had been Andy Cole that was scored the goal.
Harry says another match against Man U which springs to mind as Jonas returned in the 14-15 season. Yeah. There's quite a lot of them. Coffee says McTominay 1-0. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, so we had that. So we've looked at that game now, the 2016 game. Now the next game that I'm going to as well, and Coffee says Mikel Merino is playing as well for Spain. And Wayne says a Wally with a brolly. Yeah, absolutely. We know what he's like, the Wally with a brolly. The next one I'm going to is from the 4th of January 2012. Now, I was actually at this game because this is when I had my season ticket. And this was a cracking game. Midweek game. And I was sat in my usual seat, which was in the Sir John Hall stand. I can still remember seat number 88138. But that's where I sat, right at the front row. And that that was a great night and a great game. I remember Demba Ba scoring the goal. He got his 15th in the season. So he scored our first goal, and we went in that at half time 1-0 up. And then the second half came, and Jordan Kabai scored with a 30-yard screamer of a free kick. I remember it was a brilliant free kick. I remember it because, like I say, I was at the other end of the ground, but you saw the curl on it. And they were playing the reserve keeper that night, Man U, because our first choice was out injured. And that was a tremendous goal. But the best goal of the night, it wasn't Kabai's goal, by the way. It was Phil Jones. What a howler from Phil Jones. And an own goal from Phil Jones, and it was brilliant because he just diverted into his own net. And Alex Ferguson was manager at the time. Alan Pardew was our manager. It was when the ground wasn't called St James's Park, although it was to me, but they called it the other name, which I don't want to mention because it's swearing in my eyes. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it was a great game that. Tiote played well in midfield. I remember he was tireless all game. He was just running everywhere, and he was absolutely fantastic. All the players were fantastic that night. An absolute brilliant game. And we deserved the win. We really did deserve the win. Even Alan Hansen said Newcastle was sensational. They had every attribute for a team performance, but everything will worry Sir Alex Ferguson after this result. I expected a wounded animal after his team has lost to Blackburn as well. We were just absolutely brilliant that night. I really do remember it very well. And and I remember getting back on the train, and it was great going home on that train back to Durham because it was just a happy train, But yeah, I remember it very, very well. And I always remember Kabai's goal. That was absolutely fantastic. What do you remember from them? Do you remember that one, Pete?
Oh, I remember watching this game as well. We absolutely had them from start to finish. I think Ferdinand could have given away a penalty in that first half. But as soon as Demba Ba just looped the ball over the head of, I think it was Lingard, it was, the keeper at the time. Oh, this was some game, wasn't it?
It was.
The Kabai strike, you've got to talk as well. And, of course, Phil Jones's howler was just incredible, wasn't it? So,
yeah.
Wow.
Demba Ba scored when he had his strawberry syrup.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes. What a player we had on our hands back in them days as well.
Class striker, Demba Ba.
For a free transfer as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The season we finished 5th that season as well.
Yeah.
Wow, just unbelievable.
My overriding memory of that game was the Kabai free kick. What a screamer that was.
Oh, yeah. And if and that night is. Sorry, Rory.
So we had a good team then. I don't remember an awful a lot of that match, but in Demba Ba, when West Ham got relegated the season before, they're saying, "Oh, I fancy that Demba Ba up front because he was class." And it took us a while to get when him and Cisse left. It took us a while to get a striker of any consequence after they got because it was just such a handful. He reminded me in some respects of Alan Shearer in that the centre halves come off the pitch knowing they've had a game. They've had a real workout. As strong as an ox, a decent pace and could finish. We had some. That was a good season because I know that when Alan Pardew was appointed manager, I wasn't exactly overwhelmed. I mean, it was actually quite funny because I found out, because I don't live in the area, I don't obviously listen to BBC Radio Newcastle, but I found out that they're having Alan Pardew was going to be on the show. So they said, put your questions in now. So I said, I, like most people, was totally underwhelmed when you're appointed manager, but I'm now happily eating large portions of humble pie. Mine was the first question read out to him.
Oh, gosh. Well, the thing is, I mean, quickly going on to Alan Pardew, I mean, again, I remember when he was appointed and his debut game was against Liverpool, and all we kept singing in the stadium was Chris Hughton's Black and White Army. He did not get a mention once, even though we beat Liverpool 3-1 that night. And if you watch that game back, when the first goal goes in Carroll, when he goes past, you actually see me stand up going mad in the stand because I'm right at the front, so I'm visible. But that night, we just kept singing Chris Hughton's Black and White Army because at the end of the day, that's all we thought it was. But going back to that Man U game in 2012, that was a different night as well, because Newcastle came out onto the field with different strips as well, if you remember, Pete, because after the collapse of Northern Rock, they were then pronounced with Virgin Money on their shirts.
Yes, I remember that.
Because I remember being at the ground and I'm scratching my head thinking, hang on, since when did Virgin Money sponsor us? And, you know, it was just, they were actually just put on their shirts that day as well. But that's Kabay there, scoring against Man United and thoroughly enjoying it. But, again, that was another cracking game and well worthy of 3 points.
With Boston that day.
We did. So the next game, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go into some comments first because I know we've got a lot of comments coming in, and then we'll go back to the next game that I'm going to come on to. So we'll right, when I find which comment it was, there we are. Harry says Marino's better than Fabregas. Harry says Partey his last match prior to the AFCONs that year, 3-0 win. Jones scored a comical own goal when we beat Blackburn 2-1 in the FA Cup the following Saturday when Hatton Ben Arthur scored that world-class goal. Yeah, against Bolton.
I'm thinking which players were playing in that game. You know where Phil Jones was. I think Rooney was at the time as well.
Yeah. How Phil Jones is still at Man United this day is beyond me, says Harry. Exactly.
He's crap.
Wayne says, God bless Tiote, brilliant player. I loved him. Yeah, he was a great player. Not a bad price for $3.5 million either. Harry says, Denver scored 17 since Ramadan. He just can't get enough. Yeah, we remember that chant. That was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah. Ali Coffee says, imagine a prime Ben Arthur and Eddie Howe's team. Oh, yeah. Harry says, Hatton Ben Arthur had a bright future ahead of him until he was Pardew. Imagine he would have been like under an excellent coach like Eddie Howe. Dare to say the modern day of Zidane. Yeah, he could have been, yeah. But yeah, so the next game, and this one is, I say it's back again, so we're going back in time again. But this one is from the 15th of September 2001. So it's going back 22 years now. So I don't know if some of you in the chat might not have been born. And this was actually Sir Bobby Robson's 100th game in charge of Newcastle United at that time as manager. And this was a game where Robert scored with a free kick past Barthez on 4 minutes.
Yes, I remember that.
Van Nistelrooy then equalised at the time. And I think when he equalised, I think he gave Robson a hug or something on the way past, because remember, Van Nistelrooy played under Bobby Robson when Robson managed it in Holland in PSV, I think it was, wasn't it? So, yes, PSV. And then 5 minutes later, Rob Lee scored and restored our lead to make it 2-1. Then the second half came. Nikos Dabizas, our great centre-half who scored against the Mackhams, scored on 52 minutes to put us 3-1 up. Then Ryan Giggs pulled one back 10 minutes later. And then 2 minutes after that, Juan Sebastian Veron, the Argentine midfielder, scored a cracker to make it 3-3. Then on 82 minutes, Sir Alan Shearer bangs in a goal, makes it 4-3. And Roy Keane gets sent off in that game as well for squaring up to Shearer. You know, it was a game full of incident, full of drama. But on Sir Bobby's 100th game, we won that game. And absolutely fantastic. Yes, there was some questionable refereeing decisions that day from Steve Bennett, the referee, who, to be fair, I didn't like Steve Bennett. I thought he was a knob, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, do you remember much about that, Rolly?
To be honest, it's going back a way. In my old age, my memory's not as good as it was. But there's some class players in that. Laurent Robert, yeah, he was superb. I think Newcastle have a thing for French wingers. We normally, when we get French wingers, they're good. I mean, very good. You look at Robert, you look at Ginola, Ben Arthur, even Maxi on his day. The only one, who's that guy we had under McLaren? Was it Florian
Torvin?
Torvin.
He's the only one that's flattered to deceive. I don't remember too much about the game, to be honest. But any game where Roy Keane gets sent off was a good game in my book.
I think, what did he do? He was squared up to Shearer, and I think he knocked the yellow card out the referee's hand.
Yeah, and then he got sent off.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Harry says, I can't remember that match. I was only one. Paul says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to you, Paul. Hope you're well. And Lee says, class game, that one. I mean, do you remember much about that game, Pete?
I remember I've seen a lot of clips of this, but I mean, just Robert with his quality free kicks. I remember that. It was the keeper for Man United. Oh, it was Barthez at the time.
Fabian Barthez.
Wasn't that how you rated, wasn't he?
He wasn't the greatest goalkeeper.
Aye, because he spilled one from Rob Lee. He spilled the wrong from Rob Lee.
Yeah.
Davies ass popped him up, and the way when Shearer got the fourth goal, the way his face just absolutely dropped.
Yeah, he was terrible, wasn't he?
And I think the thing that about that game that makes a win at that time even more special, because that was when United were winning the title almost every season. I mean, they were so dominating the Premier League. So to be able to beat them like that was great. Not as good as one that we're coming up to, but yeah, that was a good Man United team at the time.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Rolly. I mean, it was a good Man United team, and you know, for us to go out there and win that game, it was absolutely fantastic. And you know, it's one we'll never forget. And like I say, we've had so many great games against them, and you know, but it's always special when we win them games. That's for sure. So
we've had so many where we've got absolutely thumped as well.
Yeah.
They aren't quite so much.
Lee says Shearer was smiling. Yes, he was, absolutely. You're right there. Yeah, I mean, some great games. Right, we're coming to the final game now. This is the fifth one, but as I say, I'm going back in history now. Now, this was on a Sunday afternoon, a tea time kick-off at 4 o'clock, live on Sky Sports. Now, in the season started off really bad because we were in the Charity Shield. We got absolutely thumped 4-0 by Manchester United. We just didn't turn up to Wembley that day. I think I remember the reason we got the Charity Shield was because Man United won the Premier League and they won the FA Cup. so obviously they can go into the Shield, and we got it because we finished second. But yeah, we got absolutely thumped off Man United in that, which is now called the Community Shield, by the way. If you're wondering what I mean by the Charity Shield, it's actually the Community Shield now. Some of the younger viewers out there, like Safari. And yeah, so Sunday, the 20th of October, 1996, Newcastle United faced Man U at home since that Wembley date. And after 12 minutes, Darren Peacock, another cracking centre half, in my opinion, got the goal. That started it all off. Now, there was question marks over it. Dennis Irwin ran over to the linesman, so did Gary Neville. It didn't cross the line. It didn't cross the lane. Andy Gray on commentary and Martin Taylor, we don't think that's crossed the lane. And then when they saw they blew it up and saw it, and Andy Gray went, oh dear, actually it has crossed the lane. So Darren Peacock got...
This was in the days before they had the goal line technology as well?
Yes, absolutely. And then on 30 minutes, Ginola from the edge of the area curls a beauty in and makes it 2-0 in Newcastle at half-time. Second half comes. Shearer was on fire that day because the Man U fans were giving Shearer a lot of stick and a lot of shit that day because he didn't want to sign for Man United. He signed for us instead. And he got them back because on 63 minutes he set up Les Ferdinand, whose shot looks like he hit the crossing. About from his, I think it was his header, wasn't it? And then on 75 minutes, Shearer got redemption because he scored Newcastle's fourth. And I remember when Shearer scored, he ran over to the Man U fans going like this, because at the time they were in the corner. So they weren't on like a level 7 because we didn't have the big ground then. We only had 36,000. So they were featured in the corner between the Sir John Hall stand and the East stand. So he went over there and taunted them. And then on 83 minutes, well, that was what we were going to see. Schmeichel was off his lane, and Philippe Albert, a tremendous Belgian centre-half, what a goal he scored. Deft chip, which just went, which was inch perfect, couldn't be any more perfect, over Schmeichel, into the back of the net. You've beaten one of the best goalkeepers in the world, because Schmeichel was a great goalkeeper. But Philippe Albert showed his class that day, and that just was the icing on the cake, and that made it Hawaii 5-0 because we won that game. And we won it 5-0. Now I'm going to come to you, Pete. I know you weren't born then, were you? But
I was actually, but I was.
You were born then, were you?
Was
but you weren't very old.
About 5 or 6 at the time.
Oh, you're 6, were you? Sorry,
about 5 or 6 I was at the time.
5 or 6, yeah.
But I've seen loads of clips of this, and it's just like, whoa. Look, I'm putting 5 past a team that won the title that season as well. I mean, just, yes. After wanted redemption after what happened in the Charity Shield as well. But I don't think this game will ever be forgotten about at all. Absolutely not as well. Of course, yes, you made about Peacock's goal. It did cross the line. Ginola, what a curling strike that was. No one is picking that out. Ferdinand's header, of course, Shearer, of course, get the goal as well. Of course, Albert just says to Schmeichel, he's off his line. Good night, sunshine. Oh.
Yeah.
That game will always be remembered as one of the greatest.
Before I come to Rolly, I'm just going to nip into some comments, and then I'll come get Rolly's. Lee says, class game that one. Shearer smelling, yeah. Good evening to you, sir. He says, hey, Tony. He says, was Newcastle more successful than Man United before World War II? And what do you think made Manchester United so successful in their history? Well, Newcastle were quite a successful side before World War II because we did win the what is now the Premier League in the 1920s.
Won the FA Cup a couple of times in that period.
Yeah, so we were quite a successful side. To be honest with you, and this is an outsider, I think Alex Ferguson made Man United a successful team, because until he come into your club, your team was always at mid-table,
Yeah.
bottom half of the table. Under likes of Ron Atkinson and that. I can remember back in the 80s. And you got rid of Ron Atkinson because you were close, I think, to the relegation zone. He went. Ron Atkinson left the club. Ferguson come in. He didn't have the greatest of starts, by the way, Alex Ferguson, if I remember. And then I think he was one game away from the sack, and he won the game against Crystal Palace, which saved him. And as they say, the rest is history. I mean, for a guy to bring in a load of kids, and we all heard the famous quote from Alan Hansen, the ex-Liverpool defender. Bearing in mind, Liverpool and Man U don't like each other, and this is coming from an ex-Liverpool player. And Alan Hansen, with his most famous quote, which will always haunt him now for the rest of his life, is he said, "You win nothing with kids." Well, what did Man United go and do? They went out and won the league with kids. They went out and won cups with kids. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, Alan Hansen realised he had made an error, but at least he was honest about it. But the thing is, I think Alex Ferguson did actually put Man U where he actually are. But since he's gone, your club hasn't been the same since, I'm afraid. I think you've had too many managers come and go. Yes, you've won a couple of trophies in the meantime, but you haven't won a Premier League for a long while. And like I said, I think the reason you are where you were because of Sir Alex Ferguson. And then he goes on to say, with Sunderland, Newcastle ruling English football up until the 30s or 40s. Not so sure much about Sunderland, but I know Newcastle did win a few trophies, as I say.
The other thing about Alex Ferguson is you've got to remember that was at a time when Liverpool had been dominating and Arsenal was starting to dominate as well. In 1990, Manchester United hadn't won the league in 26 years. Nelson Mandela had been in prison for 26 years, and the joke was when he was released was that his first words were, "Have Man United won the league yet?" But he changed the club and turned them into a footballing powerhouse. They're already a very big club, partly because of the sympathy they got after the Munich air crash. But in the early 90s, they were just building to become the powerhouse that they were when Ferguson. I think there's a cup game that saved him. I forget
Crystal
who they were
Palace.
playing. Was it Palace? Palace had a really bad.
It was a semi-final.
Yeah, and Mark Robbins intercepted it and equalised. And then they went on to win. I think they won the tie in the second leg or a replay. And then they went on to win the cup. And that was the spark of everything that happened after that. Going back to the Hawaii 5-0, that game, to put it in perspective, the season before we were runners-up. And Man United came to St James's Park and we battered them like we did that day, but we didn't score. Schmeichel kept them in the game and Cantona won it for them 1-0. And I think that was the game where we lost the title because we were like 12 points ahead of them at that point. And they put on a tremendous run and we got beat by them. If we'd beaten them, as we should have done, I think we'd win the title. And the following season, at this particular game, we did to them what we should have done the season before because we absolutely battered them. That's the most one-sided 1-0 victory I've seen where the side that won was the one that was being dominated. It was saying, but just to get them back so convincingly, and then that chip by Albert was sublime because it looks like he'd been known for having a strike from distance, a real pile driver. And then it looked like he was going to do the 7. Then and just before he went to strike, he just dinked it over Schmeichel. It looked like it's going to welly it, but he just such a delicate chip. I mean, my daughter was 3 months old, and she must have thought her dad had gone crazy or screaming so much. But yeah, that's one that I remember vividly. I also remember, as you say, about the Darren Peacock's goal, because the linesman gave it and they weren't sure, and they kept showing it, and then they slowed it down and they blew it up. Again, at the time, the picture looked great, and this is before you got sort of HD or even 4K, HD TV. So you're on a normal. I mean, that would have been on the old cathode ray TVs. So there's the TV that's well before flat screens. So your TV weighed about 800 tons to move about, but it was such a fantastic display. Again, we had a really good team that season.
This bit of music reminds you of Newcastle beating Man United 5-0. Just have a listen a moment. There you go, Hawaii 5-0.
Because they actually produced a video of that game, called it Hawaii 5-0, and they also did one of the of us beating Barcelona 4-3. Yeah, that's just such a good game, to dominate them like that and to win. And again, this is a Manchester United side that had won the title the season before and absolutely thumped us in the Charity Shield. And to do that to them, I mean, this was actually in the era where Manchester United were far and away the best team in the league, season on season. You think that Man City are dominating now. Manchester United were like that in that period. They had so many good players. I don't think they've had I would say they probably haven't had a better side than they had in those sort of 3 years. Yeah. I can't think of a side that's been better than that. Because that's where, look at the team. You had the best goalkeeper in the world, Schmeichel. You had Cantona up front. There's Giggs, Beckham, Neville, Scholes, Keane. It was just such a good side. Was Dennis Irwin playing? He would have been as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because he was one that wanted to complain about the goal.
Yeah.
To the lanes.
It was it's one of the best teams that Man United have had in the modern era, in the Premier League era. So to do that to them was, I don't think a defeat like that has happened to a side as good as they had then. Since. I mean, you say, Man United got beaten 7-0 by Liverpool a few weeks back, but that Man United team couldn't lace the boots of any of the team that we beat 5-0 on that night. I don't think at their prime, I don't think there's a player in the current Manchester United team that gets into that team. Even De Gea is a very, very good goalkeeper. He doesn't get past right. I don't think there's a player on that Manchester United side that would have gotten into that side in '96.
No, definitely not. Wayne says he remembers this game very well. Bossed that match. Albert, what a goal. They were all great, though. They were fantastic. Aditya says, were Aspria and Ginola divers?
No, I wouldn't say so.
No, I wouldn't have said so. No, they were just very skillful.
Ginola got kicked a lot.
Yeah, he did.
And in those days, when I say kicked, it's actually kicked, as opposed to anticipating the tackle like they do now. But then again, from when I first started watching football, what Ginola got was like a little poke compared to the likes of Chopper Harris and the guys playing the 70s, you had to sort of break someone's leg to get a booking, and then it was only maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Lee says all the goals were great, brilliant. Our fans were brilliant, giving the 5-0 to the Man U fans. Spot on. Yeah, absolutely. And he says that's when Ferguson got a few players from Leeds as well for Man U. He did, yeah. Ali Coffey says, I think Sir Alex Ferguson is single-handedly responsible for making Man United a global giant with their successes. The rise of the Premier League and subsequent increase in their fan base. Yeah, you're absolutely spot on.
Absolutely. What a manager he was.
Aditya says, before Alex Fergie, Man United 7 league titles, Newcastle 4, Sunderland 6, not much difference. That was back then though, mate, you know, so now it's getting a bit... Andrew says, good evening, chaps, excuse my timekeeping.
Okay.
Yeah, Andrew, where have you been?
Too many sausage
no,
stories.
yeah, he's probably had his sausage and mint sandwiches, yeah.
We'll let you off this time.
Aditya says, a bit off-topic question, came because of Mandela. Do you guys regret England ruling and colours in so many different countries? Not into that sort of history, mate, but I couldn't tell you.
I could have a discussion with you on that, but
we're not going to. This is a football channel, not a political channel, unfortunately. Yeah. Andrew says, Man U will stink on Sunday. See what I did there?
Oh,
yeah. Oh, Andrew. Someone's phone's buzzing like Bruce is on Just Eat.
Oh, God.
Coffee says, I thought I heard it buzzing and I thought it was mine. Aditya says, among the three in terms of size of clubs, Tottenham, Newcastle and Forest. Arrange these teams in three. I mean, Forest won 2 European Cups, which is huge, which is now what is the Champions League. So I think in some retrospect, yes, Forest were a big club. They did do a lot under Cloughy. But arranging them in size... It's a difficult one because
it all depends on.
I think we've won more domestic trophies than what.
It all depends on what you call a big club, how you define the size of the club, because in some people's eyes, possibly the younger people younger than myself and Tony, that Forest wouldn't be a big club because they've not been in the Premier League for 26 years. Where other people say, well, they won 2 European Cups, that makes them big. There's no correct answer because it all depends on your definition of the size of the club. You're talking about fan base, you'd probably go Newcastle, Tottenham, Forest. If you go on the prestige of the trophies that they've won, it'd be Forest, Tottenham, Newcastle. If you look at their Premier League history, it'd probably it's a toss-up between Newcastle, Tottenham, and then Forest because we've had a few runners-up positions, and when we were qualifying for Europe in the Keegan and Sir Bobby Robson eras, Tottenham were. So it's a very difficult one to answer unless you set down the criteria you're looking at, and then you always go, well, what about this? What about that? Because that's important. This is important. So it's all very subjective.
Yeah. Coffee's got a good comment here. He says, I remember Carlsberg won shirt sponsors for Liverpool. Won't be surprised if he gets 7 up next season. Lee says, now we have the best defence in the league, actually. Absolutely. Yeah. Andrew says, no, I've actually had sausage wraps at around 2 p.m. Haha, with chili sauce.
Oh, chili sauce. Oh,
Jesus, Andrew. I don't want to say this, Andrew, but your backside's going to feel it, mate. That's for sure.
Put your loo roll in the fridge.
What?
Yeah, put your loo roll in the fridge. You'll certainly have a sore ring piece, that's for sure. I see his fan base trophies, possibly the metrics. Yeah, I see where you're coming from, but yeah, I mean, looking ahead, we've got that game coming up on Sunday, and I mean, tonight we've had a great night tonight. Looking through some great games. I mean, there's possibly there's a lot more great games, but these were just the 5 that I had actually picked out at the time. And what's Andrew said now? I love chili Teflon ring. Oh, I gotta love Andrew. Lee says, "You'll have a horse like a Japanese flag."
Oh, Jesus, what?
Oh God! I think that says who will win the league this season. Do you know what it is? Yeah, I still say it's going to be Arsenal. It's Arsenal's to lose, but I think if Arsenal do go on a bad run, Man City will win it. But I still don't think they will. I think Arsenal will just win it.
I'm still going to say Man City. I just have that. There's always that time Arsenal will dip, and it can't be towards the end of the season, which I still have the thoughts. So I'm still going to stick with Man City in the moment. But if
what about you, Rolly?
I think it'll be Arsenal, but I think we'll know in the next 4 games. Because if Arsenal win their next 4 games, it then gets really gets hard for Man City to catch them because there's an 8-point gap and we're running out of games. If they win the next 4 games, I'll have, how many games will I have left? They'll have 6 or 8 games? I'm not sure how many. Yeah. Have they played 26 or have they played more? See, I don't know off the top of my head.
I'll tell you in a moment. I'll go to the table and I'll tell you.
Depends how many games they've got.
Right, Arsenal have played 28 games and Man City have played 27. So there's a 8-point gap. And if
I think
even if Man City win that game in hand, there'll be a 5-point gap.
Yeah, if Arsenal win the next 4 games, it'll be very hard for City to overhaul them because they're running out of games, and they're gonna have to be dropping points. Because basically all Arsenal have to do is match what Man City do, and they win. Mm-hmm. It's not like previous seasons where the teams have had sort of 8, 9, 10 points, and you've got sort of like 15 games to go. And this is 8 with 11 for Man City, and it's going to be very difficult for them to pull it back because Arsenal are playing really well at the moment. Right, obviously, they're going to drop 3 points in that run because they're coming to St James's Park. But I think Arsenal will win it. And it's theirs to lose. They're in the driving seat. Each game they win makes it harder for City to claw them back. So if they win the next 4 games, it's going to be very hard for Man City to reel them in.
Yeah, it says I think Newcastle can stop Arsenal St James's Park. Do you know what? It wouldn't surprise me because last season Arsenal came with the belief that they were going to win, and their fans came with the belief that they were going to win. They were going to trounce us because they were going to get in that Champions League, and they faced a totally different Newcastle team, and we absolutely outplayed Arsenal. And he also goes on to say, he says, I'm very impressed with Newcastle this season. So hard to get the ball off, so hard to beat, very hard to press, very hard to play out. A well-balanced all-round team. Do you know what it did? Yeah, absolutely brilliant. It's nice to hear from a different fan as well. Somebody on the outside looking in.
You need to subscribe.
We are playing as a different team. We are more, we have playing with a more intensity and pressing game. And with defence is spot on. Yeah, it is. We are a different team totally to what we were even last season or previous seasons. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm not sure. Have you subscribed to the channel? Yeah, if you haven't, then smash the subscribe, please, mate. That'd be great. And Coffee says, Will Botman and Pope be back for the Man U game? Joe Linton will be back. Right.
Should be.
I think Botman should be back. Shea is definitely going to be back. Pope is going to be back. Joe Linton will be back because he was only suspended. And Anthony Gordon will be back because he's fit. He's ahead of schedule. So he'll probably be on the bench. But, at least we've got a few players back. And this is why I'm happy in a way of having an international break. And the fact I said in my video this morning, over the course of the few days of the international break, Alexander Isak has had an extra 144 match minutes in him. So, in some ways, that's great for Alexander Isak because he's got 144 extra minutes in his tank, and he can now go into that game on Sunday feeling even fitter. So, Pete, what you thought about Isak? Getting 144 minutes,
that's great.
That's got to do him good.
It's absolutely. He's just going to get his fitness going, isn't it? Even though he did score for Sweden, but it certainly will be because Eddie Howe said he's not fully fit yet. Wait till we get this guy fully fit, and he's got to be in that start lineup for me on Sunday. And I don't think Man United will be looking forward to coming up against him after what he's been doing for us as of late. So
no,
we're not going to be. It's not going to be Callum Wilson. It's going to be definitely Isak starting on Sunday because he's getting the goals for me, and Man U are going to find it difficult in a way.
Do you think, Pete, though, going back to that Carabao Cup final, do you think now, I look back at that cup final, right?
Yep.
I don't think Wilson's head was there, right, with it or whatever.
But
do you think if Isak had started, do you think we would have won that game? Because I certainly think we would have had a chance of scoring at least in that game.
Could have. I think Isak, you could see when he came off the bench, he was working hard. Whether it was Wilson was just standing there, he looked lost. He looked like a completely and utter headless chicken.
I can sort of understand him not starting with Isak because of the fitness issue. Because your starting lineup, you want to have a team that can go the 90 minutes. So you don't want to be having to make a substitution at half time unless you absolutely have to. And I don't think he believed that Isak could make the full 90. We obviously knew from the first half that there's something wrong with Wilson, so he had to take him off. It did make a difference. We almost got back into the game. But it's a case of do you want to start him, run the risk that he breaks down, or bring him on as a sub? Difficult choice. Hindsight is always a beautiful thing. We went with what we went. It didn't work. But my biggest thing about Isak in these 100 and whatever minutes he got is that he's fit. Didn't get injured. Get injured. He's come back fit. He got a goal disallowed and assist in the last game, and showed some of the reasons why he's looked. Let's say when he's fully fit. God help everybody next season. He's got a full pre-season and he's fully fit. He's going to be a handful for the rest of this season. And he's going to be one of the main reasons why we clinched fourth place.
Makes a good point there as well about us. Even when Newcastle draws games, it looks like they get so unlucky. He says opposition teams just wait for the final whistle, and that is much dangerous. It is. I agree with you. We've had it with Leeds United to park the bus. It's and we've had dodgy VAR decisions as well, so it hasn't helped us.
Even in the cup final, when Man United went 2-0 up, they parked the bus.
Yeah. Full strong team for the weekend, says Lee. Wayne says, Botman had food poisoning. Yeah, that's right, he did. Coffee says, we're no longer a team that gives an easy 3 points. John says, half-time, Blythe Spartans winning 1-0. Come on, the Spartans, get in there.
Gateshead are winning as well, which is good.
Are they? Brilliant. They've got it. I'm going to come to that in a minute, Pete, about Gateshead. Lee says, Anderson start first. Yeah, absolutely. Coffee says...
I don't think he'll start.
I don't think he will, but I think he'll definitely come on.
Yeah, come on,
Coffee,
mate. It's a case of when.
Joe Linton will play on the left. I'm sure he will. He'll take over from ESM. ESM be dropped to the bench on Sunday. Hope we see more of Anderson, because Man U will deploy Wan-Bissaka if we play ESM again. Coffee says,
a good defender. So
who's the referee for Man United? Stuart Atwell.
Stuart Atwell.
Andy Madley's on VAR.
I like the way you put that. He's the ref
for Man United, yeah.
For
12th man. I meant for Man United versus Newcastle, says Coffee, laughing. Well, actually, flick it the other way, Coffee, because it's Newcastle versus Man United, because we're at home, mate. But yeah, I mean, like I say, it all depends on. But I expect probably Joe Linton comes in and starts ahead of ESM. You can't drop Willock, absolutely not. And I couldn't believe that comment I saw yesterday, where I think it was Sky who were reporting it, that if Liverpool don't get Bellingham, Pete, they're going to look at getting Joe Willock.
Yeah.
What do you say to Liverpool?
Oh, dear.
Oh, no chance.
Yeah.
Lee says, another deep pockets for the ref at Man U. Yeah, I mean, it's like the 12th man, isn't it? But yeah, we know exactly what you mean
just
there,
going
Lee.
back to that Willock article, it's going back to what I said before, in that these other teams that are challenged for the Champions League have traditionally come to Newcastle to nick our best players. That's a different era. We're in a new era now. We keep our best players and we buy your best players if we want them. Most of the time they're not good enough. We don't need the money. We're on the up. As I was saying after the takeover to all the so-called big six, we're coming to get you.
Yeah.
That was a lot sooner than they thought.
Yeah. Ditya says, tactically, it's almost impossible to beat Newcastle. Only teams with superior players can beat Newcastle.
Yep.
There's not many of them.
Lee says, Liverpool can have Ryan Fraser.
So, in a way, it's ironic that the only team to beat us this season is Liverpool. And I wouldn't say they've got better, superior players to us.
I mean, there has been a little link today, and I just thought, please, we are not going there. Really hope we are not going there.
Ox.
Another free transfer in the summer, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I do not want him. I don't rate him.
He's just absolutely...
He's too old. And would cost too much. Is just about any reason you can think of as a reason. I can't think of any reason why we'd want to take him.
I mean, he's gone downhill since leaving Arsenal, hasn't he? He spends time on the bench a lot now. He's made a glass a lot of the time.
Unless we need a new kit man, there's no reason to get Oxlade-Chamberlain.
And he'll probably demand lots of money and wages.
Yeah. No, I can't see that. But then again, we're going to be linked with every man and his dog.
Yeah.
Going into the summer. If I show up with a pair of boots on somewhere, they might link me with the two. 56 overweight.
Alan says, just seen a save from the French goalie. Got to be one of the best I've ever seen against Ireland. I haven't seen it, but I'll have to check it out. That's Mike Mangy, isn't it? Paqueta? No. Oh my God, no to the Ox, says Coffee, because that's who we thought I meant, Paqueta. Lee says, no be a donkey. Absolutely. Coffee says, Ox can go to Chelsea or Forest. Andrew says, I would have loved Ox-Chamberlain at the tune 5 years ago, but not now. Absolutely, Alan. Absolutely. I mean, as I say, Pete, I was at the game on Saturday, Leicester. the under-21s, whilst you were watching Newcastle Benfield. And I've got to say, this guy, Pete, I know we keep going on about Manu Corney, but I'll tell you what, Pete, he was terrific on Saturday, and he drew a tremendous save from James Trafford in the England goal. But I think we have to go and get him in the summer, Pete. He would just fill the gap exactly what we need.
Yeah, I mean, if he's.
I was reading an article today about him and was it Kefran Turan?
Yeah, Kefram, yeah.
And they're saying that a lot of people actually rate Kefran higher than Kone, and that he's got into the French actual national squad. He's playing really well at Nice, but I don't know too much about Kefran. I've seen more of Kone, but I think either one of them would be good. And they're saying that their estimated prices is that Kefran might be a little bit cheaper than Manu. They both sound like tremendous prospects. I mean, I did watch the France game on iPlayer. To get a chance to have a look at it on BBC iPlayer, he's good. Made some really good tackles. It was a great shot before that was well saved. He's still young, so he's got a lot of development to do, but the signs are there that he could become a world-class midfielder.
Yeah, I mean, so Pete, going back to you about Corney, I mean,
sounds like a player that ticks all the boxes, doesn't he? For a CDM kind of player, which is what we really, really need, don't we?
Yeah.
I really hope we get someone or someone just as good as him. Would be great.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have people in mind. I'm just hoping that Scott McTominay is a smokescreen.
McTominay, no, thank you.
Yeah, as a smokescreen to hide who we're really after.
McTominay, no, thank you.
No, we don't want McTominay. That's for a starters.
I don't want him, but if Eddie wants him, you've seen what transformation Eddie's made of the players we've got. You could actually make him into a bloody good midfielder. But
that's a good point as well.
And he has some European experience, which we're lacking in the squad. So, I mean, there's some reasons why you think they might want him. But he wouldn't be top of my list.
No. Anyway, if we were looking at bringing a younger goalkeeper in, maybe, and in the summer, and one who could do stuff for our club and be there for the long term, and I'll be inclined. I know plays for Lille, and his name is Lucas Chevalier. He's 21 years old. He's 6'4". He's long shots saving is his strengths. I mean, he didn't have a bad game against England. He could do nothing about the goals on Saturday. He's got no outstanding weaknesses. He started all 22 games for Lille this season. And in those 22 games, he's got 8 clean sheets as well. And his passing is 75% accurate per game. So, he's not bad with the ball at his feet or anything like that. I mean, would you take someone like that, Pete? 21-year-old?
Very young goalkeeper. Why not? Someone with him would be very, very good. Quite tall as well. So, yeah.
The only...
what about you, Rolly?
The only question I would have is, he's playing first-team football at Lille. Would he want to go somewhere to sit on the bench?
Thing is, though, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He may come and sit on the bench, though, Rolly, but then he may play the cup games. And then what's to say? But what's to say, though, Rolly? Let's throw this little curveball in. Now, what happens if Nick Pope gets a suspension? Now he comes in and is expensing Nick Pope and has an outstanding game. Eddie Howe's then got a decision. Oh, hang on. This guy's playing well. He may force his way in and be the first chase keeper. You don't know.
No, I mean, I appreciate that. I'm just saying that as a first choice keeper, is he want to go somewhere to be second choice? It's a
Yeah, but
legitimate.
then
He's got to decide that. He may feel that, as do a lot of young players, that getting a move to a big club like Newcastle is a good career move, and be quite happy to bide his time. But as I say, he's playing first team at Lille, so does he really want to go somewhere and play second fiddle, be it Newcastle or any other big club in Europe? Uh, I don't know, but
thing is, so it's, but
that's
some,
the only qualm I have.
yeah, but who knows? Who knows? Just going to some comments before we wrap up. Andrew says, I just want to see his hair in black and white instead of green. Go on, yes. Coffee says, have all the links to Moroccan players diminished after the World Cup? They just beat Brazil. I don't know. Lee says, McTominay can stay in the Man U. Best place for him. Absolutely. So, guys, we are going to wrap up. But it's been another great show tonight. And, we've looked at some great games and we've had some great discussions there, and we spoke about goalkeeper there. So I'm going to come around the table. So, Rolly, do you want to let people know, Rolly, as the voice of reason he's called now, would you let people know where the voice of reason can be found, please, Rolly?
I'm on Twitter at Paul67. If you follow me, I'll follow you back.
There you go. He hasn't got as many as what John's got. And Pete, would you like to let people know where they can find you on your many socials?
Yes, so you can find me on my channel, PD Proudlock. Feel free to check out, subscribe to me. In terms of content coming up, it'll be the preview for the Man United game. I think I may have to cancel the football show for this week due to I've got a lot of commitments coming on the Friday and the weekend, and with the game being on Sunday as well. So, but the stuff after the game, like the quick thoughts, the fan reactions, so those will be coming definitely. So, apologies if I may have to cancel the football show, but that means hopefully for the next week, double the food picks for the week after. And you can find me on my social medias of Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at all PD Prologue as well. So feel free to follow me there as well.
Oh, thank you, Pete. Oh, what I was going to say to you, Pete, was, by the way, before we got off topic actually from it, the Heat Army, they've got their own flag display, and they're putting the appeal out saying, as Newcastle and Sunderland are playing on Saturday, they've got the International Stadium, they've got a very big game on it. It's the FA Trophy semi-final against Barnet.
Yes,
and they're asking people to go along and give them support. I mean, are you going along, Pete?
I've not. When is it? Saturday, was it?
Saturday afternoon, yeah. 3 o'clock kickoff.
I don't think I'll not be able to make that, which but hopefully the Heat can win that.
Yeah, and get to Wembley in the FA Trophy. Mm-hmm. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Oh, yes.
I would love to see them do it. But, let's hope.
Talking about trophies, I saw Adam P's video.
McTominay 2-0 now, again.
I saw
Spain are waffling, aren't they?
About the women's team winning a cup against Portsmouth at the weekend. So that's our first piece of silverware under the new ownership, with the ladies leading the way.
Yeah.
So first of many.
Absolutely. Andrew says, cheers, lads. Thank you very much, Andrew. Bye, yes. Tony PD. Rolly and all says, coffee. Bye-bye to you.
Coffee.
Yeah, and Ian says 2-0 to Scotland. McTominay, Spain are bloody poor, aren't they? Lee says, thumbs up for the lads. Been fantastic tonight. Thank you very much indeed, Lee. Ian says, bye, guys. Bye, Ian, and thank you for your £5 donation, mate. Much appreciated once again. Coffee says, 42 food picks as I predicted last week. Bye, guys.
It's all the Fulham hot dog.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyone joining the fan forum? I don't think so, but I know they're doing the fan forum on Toon Review tonight. I don't mind mentioning Toon Review. I've got no problems with mentioning a Toon Review at all on my channel. I know there is another channel that doesn't like it being mentioned on, which, to be honest, isn't very good because we're all good friends at the end of the day. But yeah, absolutely. But we know why it's not allowed to be mentioned on that channel. But yeah, Spain are world class, Tony, says Ian. It looks like it. If the Scotland are beating them 2-0, I mean, Jesus. Spain were poor in the World Cup, World Cup, and deservedly so got beat, so they weren't great. I don't know what's happened to Spain. They've just gone downhill massively
They must have done
in
because they
recent
got
times.
Josselou up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And so before I go as well, guys, and before I mention my socials, if you like what you see, then please smash the likes. It helps the channel up the search results, and it helps the algorithm. So if you smash those likes, if you haven't smashed it yet, then smash it on your way out. Just takes 1 second just to click that like and light it up. So thank you very much
share
indeed.
it on your socials as well.
Yeah, and also if you're brand new to the channel, then hit the subscribe. Free to do so, helps the channel grow. And that bell notification tells you when I'm live, have a pre-record, or I have any upcoming show. And as Rory says, feel free to share the channel on your socials, and anybody who hasn't come across the channel may see it on your socials and think, oh, I need to give that a watch, and it gets people in. Also, you can find me on Twitter at TonyTony31 down there. Same name on Twitch as well. So follow me on there as well if you want to. And you can find me on my channel, which you're on anyway, so you know what that is. Got another comment here just before we go. Scotland's class, that's why, says Ian. Do you know what, Ian? Hey, I tell you what, mate. I don't have a problem with Scotland because my dad's from there, so I don't have a problem with Scotland. I do like to keep an eye on them, and but I just think, yeah, to be fair, Ian, Scotland, if they're winning 2-0, deservedly are winning 2-0 because obviously Spain are just so poor. We're sorting the World Cup. The way they got beat off Japan, they got beat off Morocco, says it all. Spain are not a great side no more. That's the thing now. And it's just one of those things. But yeah, it's been a great show tonight, guys and girls. And yeah, but from me, Pete and Rolly, it's goodbye. And we will see you on the next show. But as I say, coming up this week, I'll be doing a Man United preview some point this week. So keep an eye out for that one, because I'm just sorting it out, and I'll have Macy coming on with me as well. So she's going to do a match preview with me. So that's absolutely fantastic to Macy for doing that. So yeah, so thank you very much, guys, and see you on the next show. But for now, bye bye, and see you later. Ta-ta.